I'm Brandon Jones, and I did my essay on the heroin epidemic in Seattle. To start, heroin addiction is being fueled by ages 18 to 29, mostly because the younger crowd is more influenced to do drugs and they have more people telling them what's cool and what's not, so therefore they want to use drugs. Although it's being fueled by the younger crowd, there's been a huge increase in users that are 50 years old and up. Heroin is by far one of the most addictive drugs because after using the drug for the one time, you want that same high already over again and use it once, twice, three times until it becomes an addiction and you keep chasing that same high that you got the first time. And they call that chasing the dragon because you're chasing the high that you got, but you'll never succeed at getting it again. Prescription drugs a lot of the time lead to heroin addiction because people will get injured or the doctors will prescribe it for some type of pain, and after your prescription runs out or you can't afford it anymore, you can't just stop using a drug or you will go into major withdrawals, and people, it's not easy to go through withdrawals, so you automatically go to heroin or some other type of drug to feel that addiction. Heroin is very easy to find and is very cheap. The reason is because there's such a high demand and it's so easy to make. Between 2013 and 2014, heroin overdoses have rose 58% and are still rising. In the past 2 decades, overdoses from heroin went from 16 to 182 a year. An overdose is when a person takes too high of a dose of a drug and their body can't handle it and their body automatically begins to shut down, and that's called an overdose because obviously you use too much of a dose. Doctors now in 34 states, including Washington, are allowed to use a drug called Narcan, and that can reverse the overdose in just minutes, and that's saving a ton of lives. Getting clean, the most effective way to get off heroin is going to rehab or going to Medicaid-assisted treatment, which is basically the same thing. During your treatment, doctors and assistants use a drug called methadone, and that will weave the patient off heroin very slowly. You can't just come off heroin at once or else you'll go through major withdrawals. So by using methadone, they can give patients smaller and smaller doses to slowly take them off the drug completely. Doing unassisted detox by yourself is very dangerous and can be deadly. When you detox from a drug, your body goes into very bad withdrawals, which you throw up, you get sick, you shake, and your body can't really handle it well, and that happens for about 3 days, and some people's addictions are so bad that their withdrawals can kill them. Last year, there were nearly 3,000 admissions into treatment for heroin, and that's 1/3 higher than last year and double from 2 years ago. So that's showing that people want to get clean, and they're starting to figure out what an effective way is to get off the drug. The solution to this problem is making it mandatory for addicts who are arrested for heroin to go to treatment to get clean instead of putting them in jail. Most people may disagree and say that they deserve to go to jail for their addiction because they believe they're bad people and what they're doing is bad, so therefore they're going to put them in jail. But the facts have proven that rehab is the most effective way to get off heroin. Going to jail for an addiction is much different than going to jail for a certain crime. Putting people in jail for an addiction makes it almost twice as likely for them to relapse. Rehab will cut that in almost half. In conclusion, heroin addiction is being fueled by young adults, but there's been a big increase in adults 50 years old and up, and that's very scary to hear. Because of the addictions, that causes overdoses, which then leads to deaths, which makes the drug so dangerous. To get clean, the most effective way is to go to rehab, and the solution is also to go to rehab instead of putting people in jail as their consequence if they're arrested. The best way to get someone off a drug is to put them into Medicaid-assisted treatment so they can slowly weave off the drug safely and effectively. And by putting them in jail, the only thing you're going to do is make them want to go back out, relapse, get back on the drug, and get arrested and do the same thing over and over again. By putting them into treatment, they will learn how to live life like a normal person, get off the drug slowly and safely and effectively, and it'll cut the drug completely. Thank you.